Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I have got 3 cards to share with you that I've created using Spellbinders Craftoween Day 4, this spooky ghost and pizza. So, yes, I am crazy. Yes, I did film the process of all of this for you, but I have created here 16 pizza slices. And I decided I wanted to do these in sort of a pastel Halloween sort of color theme. So I have mixed and matched them. I had 8 different colors that I pulled out, and then I mixed and matched all of the pieces to try to create a different slice. And now I'm going to create a background here on my card front using each of these slices. I have 3 rows here of 5 slices, and I haven't measured this out. I'm kind of doing this just by eye. It's not perfect, but it's close enough for me. So I'm going to add a little dab of glue behind each one of these, press that into place, and try to keep them as aligned as I possibly can. So now we're going to add our ghost, and I decided I liked him covering these 2 slices of pizza. So if you were to recreate this, you would really only need 14 in total, and that includes the one that the ghost is holding. I just didn't like when he overlapped and you could see bits and pieces. I felt like it was far too busy. So I'm very strategically aligning this. I've added some pop dots, one on the actual card front, and then 2 on the back of my ghost to kind of sandwich that in place there. And now we're going to go ahead and stamp the inside of the card. And I went with the sentiment, have a treat-filled night. This is, of course, on my Nina 24-pound paper, and I am using my Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. We're going to add some glue here to my card panel, and we'll place that on the front of our card base. This is an A2 sized card. Should have mentioned that at the beginning. And we'll press that into place. I'm going to make sure all of my edges are lining up, and then I will take my bone folder and run that around so that I don't have any bubbles. And then we'll take our inside panel, add some ATG to the back of that, and place it on the inside of our card base. And that will complete card number 1. This was time consuming, but I definitely think worth it in the end. All right, we're going to jump here into card number 2. This one is a little bit quicker. I have gone ahead and cut out 3 of my ghosts. I've got a slimline card panel in black. This is Raven from Spellbinders. And then years ago, I purchased a bag of this spider web sort of netting that's actually to be used outside. Like if you had bushes at your house, you would just stretch this around them for Halloween decoration. I've been using it for cards. I feel like I will never need to buy another bag of this ever, and I'm pretty sure I got it at the dollar store. So I've grabbed a piece of that. I'm stretching it around my panel here. I'm going to add some mint tape just to hold this in place. It'll help me work with it without having to worry about everything kind of popping off there. So I've now got my 3 ghosts, and I did yet another pizza slice. I cut out one of the banners, and I've also got one of the jack-o'-lanterns. So just a little dot of glue to hold that pizza in place here. And then I've got my banner, and I'll put a little glue behind each of the little flags. Pop that into place. There was also a cat that came with this. I did cut it out, but I couldn't quite, it didn't quite look right to have the ghost holding it, so I may use that in another project later on. And then here's our jack-o'-lantern. I'm going to put that on the opposite hand, kind of balance things out here on our card base. So we'll start with our little jack-o'-lantern, and then in the center we have our boo banner, and then our ghost with the pizza. And I wanted to add some movement to this card because you think of ghosts as kind of floating, right? So perfect way to do that is with some mini wobbles. I'm going to peel away the backing on the plastic part, the heavier plastic part. I feel that having that on what you want to wobble gives it a little more weight, and it really adds some movement. And then there's a thin, clear sort of acetate piece on the opposite side of that wobble. I will stick that down onto our card base. And there you can see just from me pressing it and removing my hand, it's got that wobble. It's great. This turned out so good. It was exactly what I wanted. And I'll repeat that process with the other 2 as well. The heavier plastic piece onto the part that we want to wobble, and then the thin sort of acetate piece directly on our card base. And these can kind of move. You're not going to get perfect lineup because of the way the springs are. You can get pretty close, but you're not going to have those ghosts exactly next to one another. Now this third one did give me a little bit of trouble because I have so much webbing there. What I ended up doing is I pressed it where I wanted it, and then I saw that it was coming loose. So I will go ahead and add some art glitter glue behind there, just a little dot of that. And I'll just hold that for a few seconds. And then once that dries, we are good to go. For the inside, I am again going to stamp out "Have a treat-filled night." And then again, of course, we will add this to our card base. I am using dots of glue here because if I tried to kind of spread my glue normally, I was pulling that spider web with me. So the dots worked pretty well. It was a bit difficult to make sure that I got a good stick with this. I really had to go over this and make sure it was down nice and tight to that card base. I will show you with the next card a better way to do this. But I'm lining this up, and this paper was slightly smaller than my Nina cardstock, so I will go ahead and trim the edges off But I'm pretty sure I edited that out for you guys so you don't have to watch all of that. But I'm carefully running my bone folder here to make sure that's all nice and tucked down, and then I will trim off the excess. Here we've got our panel, added some HEG to the back of that. I'm going to pop that on the inside. And then I had some leftover jack-o'-lanterns, so I'm going to add those to just put a little pop of color on the inside as well. And just a little dot of art glitter glue. And kind of layer those one over the other. I don't do a whole lot of die cuts on the inside of cards just because this will keep it from closing, perfectly flat, but it's thin, so it'll be all right even if I do decide that I want to mail this. There you can see all of those wobbles. I love it. Looks like those ghosts are just floating around. And that is going to complete card number 2. All right, so for card number 3, this one gave me a little bit of trouble. I thought I knew what I wanted when I started putting everything together, and then I ended up making some changes. So the editing is going to be a little bit choppier than the others, but I'm starting off here. I've got a pink panel, and I pulled in some orange cardstock. I used my Stamp Market 1/4 inch strips to cut out the orange. I knew I wanted to create a stripe up at the top of this card. And I'm using just liquid art glitter glue behind there, but I've taken one of the strips and I'm placing that in between to make sure I can get these nice and evenly spaced. So I'm just going to kind of continue that there. One swipe of this die gives you 5 strips, so I decided I was going to make those 5 work rather than run it through another time. So I will get these 4 here pressed into place. And then I'm going to cut off the excess. And in order to get that 5th one lined up, I will just use 2 of these extra pieces to make sure we're keeping that nice and straight and the distance that I would like them to be apart. And we'll pull away one and then the other, and then again, trim off the excess. Just making sure the opposite end is even as well. I took some black cardstock and I ran that through using a Dries heart embossing folder. I really was going for texture with this card. I'm going to tear that in half. And this was my original plan, and then I kind of varied from it, and then I sort of end up going back to it. But I wanted to try and add in more of the boo banners, because I'd made quite a few of those in some different colors to give me some options. And I wanted to add them, but in the end, it just didn't look quite right. So there I'm adding, another pizza to my ghost here. I'm kind of laying things out, deciding how I want it to go. I was thinking about adding a sentiment where I could place those banners. Kind of pulling them in, pulling them out, seeing what I think might work. And then I decided, nope, that was too much. It was too much with the stripes. So I took them off. And now I'm going to add even more texture with some more of this webbing. And I kind of end up placing this all over the card. But I will cover up half of it with black along the bottom. Just stretching it until I get a look that's enough, but not quite too much. Again, sort of messing around with that, seeing how I want things to be placed, what I want this to look like. I ended up deciding that I wanted to add these banners across the plain pink portion. I was going to flip the card completely upside down. Did that, hated it. So I'm now tearing those off and going back to my original plan. I pulled in that bottom portion of the black cardstock. I'm adding 2 layers of some Scotch foam tape here. I got the very, very thin foam tape when I ordered this last roll. It was not what I had meant to order, but that's okay. We'll double it up. It'll work just as fine. And then I'm going to place that here along the bottom, and that's going to help hold the webbing in place as well, kind of keeping that stuck down there. Going to add another one of those mini wobbles to the back of this ghost. Go ahead and press him into place. And then we'll stamp out our inside sentiment. I went with the sentiment meant to go with this. It's I want a pizza you. And then I pulled in my sort of medium purple color, and I'm going to stamp out Happy Halloween. We're going to add that to the front of the card. I felt like it just needed more than just that pizza you sentiment. So I've trimmed that down here. We're going to add some foam tape behind that. Again, another double layer of that. We'll press that into place here towards the bottom. I just kind of strategically lined that over one of my lines of heart in the embossing. And now it looks complete. That was what it needed. So here, because I have that webbing and I don't want it to pull, I am going to add my glue to my card base this time, and then press my panel onto the base with the glue. And this worked so much better. So if you're going to use that webbing, I highly suggest placing your glue on your base first and then adding the panel down. Some ATG to the back of our inside panel. We're going to place that on the inside. There, we've got our wobbling, floating ghost, and that is going to complete card number 3. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I've used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.